Get smart with your spending with Nucenda's Breeze debit card. We've got your back by offering safe and easy access to your money. Never any hidden fees, just an account that makes sense. Download the Nucenda app to enroll in mobile and internet banking, managing your funds, making person-to-person transfers, and rounding up purchases to save. Visit Nucenda.org to explore Breeze accounts and join our credit union.
New members must be eligible for membership. Equal opportunity lender. Insured by NCUA.
Good day, folks, and welcome to another edition of Inside the Santa Fe Public Schools podcast, brought to you by Nucenda Credit Union. Our guest today is the Director of Student Nutrition for Santa Fe Public Schools, Diana Tarasiewicz. How you doing today, Diana?
I'm great, thank you. It's Friday.
Yes, it is. It's Friday. And I'm really excited to have you on today because we did a story on you on our school bulletin last week. And you have a very interesting life, and I'd like to talk to you about that today. And we'll also get into your role at Santa Fe Public Schools as well, because I have a lot of 8th grade questions here, and maybe a little bit more adult questions too as well that we want to get into. But first, let's talk about this. So tell me, I know that you grew up in France, and
Yes.
and that's where you found your passion for food, right?
Absolutely. As a little kid, I played in the dirt all the time. We lived with my godmother, who had this amazing garden. She grew everything. She had a bit of a little small orchard. She had chickens and ducks and rabbits. Truly, the only thing we ever bought at the store, and that was rarely, was a little beef. But everything else, I was able to pull carrots out of the ground and, eat them, dirt and all. It was great.
So, I mean, so from that, did you grow up seeing your godmother cook, and was that kind of like what we're thinking as Americans? We think of like how it is growing up in France and how food is made over there, and how.
Yes, you're right. And also I was an only child. So, I was always drawn into the kitchen here, peel the carrots, cut up the potatoes.
Yeah.
I learned so much from her by watching.
Yeah.
It was great. I played with food all the time. It was really a cool thing to do.
Yeah. And then at what age did you move to the States?
I moved to the States when I was 15, so I was a sophomore in high school.
Oh, wow.
It was tough.
That must have been, huh?
It was, because I had this funky French-British accent, because I had a couple of years of English under my belt, but it wasn't American English.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
I moved to a really small town, Michigan,
Okay.
where I was truly the oddball. So I worked at losing that accent.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Yeah. So then you went out to New York, right?
I did. After I graduated, I went to the University of Michigan, actually for fine arts.
Oh, that's awesome.
I have a textile and graphic design degree with a minor in business. So
Okay.
it's sort of a, fun combo anyways. So yes, with something in the arts, you better be in a larger city. So I picked New York because I always loved it. I was always fascinated by that town. It was wonderful.
That's that. And, I see, when you're young and you want to move, and when you pick the bold choice of going, it's a very bold choice to move into New York or to Los Angeles or one of the big cities, right? So how was it over there in New York?
It was fascinating. First, I love the pace. I mean, it's so fast paced. You can feel it as soon as you get off the plane. Everybody walks faster, and it was just really exciting. Of course, fresh from college, no money, so I had, I think, 6 roommates. We lived somewhere on the west side.
Yeah.
But it was a great start. It was fascinating. It was really wonderful. It was just great being such a huge place with so many really great ethnic neighborhoods.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I was able to follow up on my love for food, because I would scour the stores or the stalls in Chinatown just for stuff I didn't know. It was great. It was really a great learning experience.
Yeah, I mean, and it broadens, right, as far as your palate goes on what you try, and also life experience too as well, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's pretty amazing. So then you moved to Colorado.
Correct.
Wow. Okay. So,
Another culture shock.
yeah, because a different pace of life, that's for sure, right?
Very different. And also moving from somewhere that, I had water all around, living in New York, you have the East River, you have it's so different. And then I moved to the desert, higher elevation, very different. Also very hard to find a job. I moved with my husband at the time.
Okay. So what did you get into? What was your first? Was it education? Is that when you got into the education part of it?
Yeah, that's when I started, because the only thing I could find was working at the library, checking out books. Which there's nothing wrong with that, but it wasn't quite what my love of work was. So I just started to look at the continuing education flyer that the university was sending out, and I thought, oh, can I take a class? And then I thought, oh my gosh, they don't have any cooking classes there. So I just called them up and said, hey, would you like somebody to teach cooking classes for you? I'd never taught a class, and I was petrified of being in front of people. So, for me to do that, it was, I was desperate.
Yeah.
But I thought, I want to do something with food, because I know that, it's truly a passion for me. So that's how it started.
And how did it turn out? I mean, how did that?
Well, it turned out really well, actually. I did a lot of different things. One, which was to teach for Colorado Mesa University for 20 years in the culinary program.
Okay.
So I actually taught, people who graduated from culinary school, which was fun. I started my own catering company.
Okay.
Because of need, truly. And this was from one of the classes I was teaching for continuing ed.
Okay.
One of my students who had taken several classes came to me and said, hey, my brother's getting married, in 2 months. Do you cater? And I thought a little bit about it. And, I had Martha Stewart's book, Entertaining. And I thought, yeah, I do.
I can do it. Yeah.
Of course I cater.
And so it kind of just started from there, right?
It did.
That's pretty amazing. Isn't that crazy? You think about it, like, I have a film degree. So somebody asked me if I'd do their weddings for them. I was working at the city at the time. And I said, well, I've never thought about it, but sure, I'll do it. And then word got around at the city that I was a cheap gig, to hire for video, and that people liked them. And I was thinking, okay,
that's great.
What I did find out, though, was interesting, was that there's a lot of pressure with that stuff, because it's someone's special day and everything. And I was like man, what if the tape doesn't, because it was tape at the time. It wasn't like an SD card. Yeah. And you're like, what if this doesn't, what if the tape doesn't record or something, or the sound, and it just got too much pressure for me. So it was interesting. But getting back to the original thing, it was like, you just, all of a sudden someone comes in and asks you something, and you're like, and kind of opens a door and says, hey, here's a door. Would you like to walk through it and see what happens, right?
Exactly. And I've always been a big risk taker.
Yeah.
I think it comes from, having moved to a totally different country with a different language. When I was a kid, it was like, shoot, if I can do that, I can do anything.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. Give me a sec. I'm going to check something out. Yeah. Test 1, 2. I was wondering why I'm not getting, maybe I'm not up a little. There you go. That's a little bit better.
Oh, okay.
It felt like I was too far away. I guess I have to be right in here. It's fine. All right, cool. Okay. So we were talking before, the podcast, and you were telling me that you also were Joe Cocker's personal chef.
I was with my catering company. It was amazing. I lived in Grand Junction, Colorado, and about an hour and 15 minutes away from there is Crawford, Colorado, where Joe and his wife Pam decided to build this amazing mansion in the middle of nowhere, teeny tiny town.
Yeah.
And the mansion was being built, and I thought, I had heard about it, and I thought, oh my gosh, it would be so wonderful to work for them. And so I just decided to send a little portfolio, an intro letter to the person who was in charge of the construction management, basically, of the place, and say, hey, when they're here, I'd love to talk to them. And perhaps work with them, because I'm sure, as any other star, they need food, they need caterers, and that was another door that opened up.
That is crazy.
It was crazy. So I got a call. It was amazing.
It's interesting. Another thing, going back to, if you don't ask, you don't get type of thing. So, and it'd be amazing sometimes on, the amount of times that you do ask and you do get, and you just really are like, you just got to put yourself out there and take that, I don't know if you want to call it a risk, but just take that chance, I guess, right? I think that's pretty amazing. So how long did you do that for?
I had my catering company for 14 years, but it was the last 10 that I actually was able to work with them.
That's pretty amazing.
Fantastic. Yeah. We would, we'd arrive early, my crew and all, and just basically move into their kitchen, which was gigantic.
Oh, I betcha.
And just, everything you needed to work there. And we would set up and prep and cook and do the party and go back home at 3 a.m.
That's pretty awesome. That's really cool.
It was.
So then what brought you to New Mexico?
Grand Junction's not that far.
No.
It's about a 7-hour drive.
Yeah.
And I had a couple of friends. I have 2 of my old New York City neighbors who live here. Yes.
Wow.
They moved here, I think, about 16 years ago or something.
Yeah.
And so I'd come down to visit. And then I have a chef friend that I met when I was at the Culinary Institute in California. We just would go to conferences, and we met there. So she lives in Santa Fe. So I just started to come down 3-4 times a year for the food, for the friends, for the arts. And I thought, well, why am I just not moving? It's another sort of leap of faith. I gave myself a deadline and started to, because I had a really big house there, which of course, the bigger the house, the more stuff you accumulate.
Yes.
So I had to start to divest myself of all sorts of stuff. But it was this June 15 was 5 years ago that I moved down here.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
And here you are with us now.
Yes.
That's pretty awesome. So, I want to talk to you about a couple of things. I was watching a show this past weekend, and it was about lunches in schools, and the director of nutrition made a line, said a line that struck me, that I don't think a lot of people get unless you say it, but it said that he runs the largest restaurant in the city, right? Yep. And that makes a lot of sense, right? You guys are pushing out. You beat any, probably, as far as meals served. You beat any restaurant hands down, probably in a day. Correct? I would say.
Oh, absolutely, because we do over 7,000 meals a day.
Okay.
In the school. So that's
35,000 meals, and that's breakfast and lunch.
Breakfast and lunch, and then snacks. So it's 35,000 that you're serving, and that's 7,000 a day.
7,000 a day. So it's 35.
35. Okay. Yeah. A week. Yep.
A week. I'm sorry. You're
that's
right.
Okay.
Yeah. And so that's pretty amazing. So how do you tackle something like that because, a guy like me or people that are the people that are looking in, how do you, I guess, tackle that problem? That's not a problem, but how do you tackle that?
You chunk it down, and it's all about math, truly. I hate to say that because math was never one of my favorite topics, but it's math, because you do everything by weight. You calculate, you make sure you bring in as many servings of roast beef that we don't serve roast beef. Excuse me, let me rephrase that. Okay. Chicken or turkey.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of planning ahead. And we start in December, really planning for the next school year.
Oh, wow.
Because that's when there's a really big food shows, which is it's called the Commodities Show.
Okay.
So that's where we shop for really great tasting products because we get to taste everything, good price points. Who's going to be able to provide us with, 2 truckloads of turkey breast, basically? I mean,
Yeah.
because everything, as I said, is math, and it's an exponential. So you just calculate how much you need for that one day for your schools and multiply it by 173 days if it's something you serve every day. So, yeah, it's a lot of planning ahead.
Yeah, and it seems because you're not serving the same thing every day, so you got to like plan it right. And as far as like, is there a rotation or something that you guys do?
There is, absolutely.
Okay.
We usually do a 4-week rotation, menu rotation.
Yeah.
And we have a nutritionist who works in-house for us, Chris, who's fantastic because he's so organized and he works his magic, because the nutritionals are calculated over a week, not over, per day. You still have to meet certain requirements, but then what the USDA and what the government looks at when they're reimbursing us for meals is, what do you do in a week? Do you follow the guidelines? Are you below the sodium limit? Are you below the sugar and fat limit? So there's that planning. And so we do rotate menus, just to make it a little more exciting, but it's all very scientific in the long run.
Yeah. No, I can imagine. Growing up, I went to a school that we had hot lunches only on Fridays. Oh. Which was interesting, right? We'd bring lunches. I went to a small Catholic school up in Farmington. Oh, right. Wow. For the first part of my elementary school. And it was interesting because we'd always look forward to having like the pizza or the hamburgers that we would have, right? And so it was like, so it's different now, right? Because, we had to pay, it was 50 cents, I think, per hamburger or whatever back in the day. That was, it was in the 70s or the 80s, right? You're not going to get that. But then when we moved here to Santa Fe, the school we went to, they had lunches every day served for us, which I thought wow, that's pretty cool. Right. We can do that. So with that, okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to record you now. I'm going to ask you, how do you balance nutrition, with kids, because kids like to eat pizza, that type of thing. So I'll ask you that. But the main part of the question is how do you balance? Let me get my
right. Clean the lens.
Clean the lens. Let me get you framed up.
All right. Sounds good.
That looks good.
Okay,
so that brings up, because I know we can't have pizza every day, right? As much as we'd like to. So how do you guys balance nutrition versus, the unhealthy stuff that kids like to eat? Right.
So we still serve that. We serve pizza. We serve burgers. We serve a lot of the things that they really love. But, we used, I hate to call it tricks, but for us, it's sort of the tricks of the trade. Your pizza is whole grain crust. So it's not fully whole wheat, but what the requirements are is that 50% at least be whole grain. So you can still get pizza, but it will be a whole grain crust. It will be a low sodium sauce and low sodium cheese, maybe reduced fat cheese, but it still tastes great. I mean, we make sure that we sample everything, we taste test it, and there's appeal. It has to look good too. So working all those together, we can make it happen. Same with the bun on the hamburger. That's a whole grain bun. So it's still healthier for you.
Yeah, I get that. That you do have to do like the tricks, right? Like I
Absolutely.
think it was Jerry Seinfeld's wife that like she blends in like broccoli and stuff into their kids' mashed potatoes and stuff, so they don't know that they're having
a vegetable.
Yeah, something like that. So, is that stigma still like in this generation of kids? You think with vegetables and stuff?
Still, yeah. It's harder to make them take veggies. However, our response to that is salad bars. So at least we have salad bars that they can pick what they like, instead of having something that's ready made. So the salad bars have been really popular, and that's helped a lot getting vegetables into their diet. When I was working for a school district in Colorado, we did try mac and cheese with butternut squash in it because it's orange, right?
Yeah.
So it was a little sweeter, and that didn't go over well. Yeah, it didn't work out.
It did
not work. No, they really didn't like the sweet mac and cheese. It didn't work.
Is the Brussels sprout still have that stigma? Has it become a little bit more?
I think restaurants have really helped that one out because
Okay.
if you don't cook them to death, they don't smell bad.
No.
And so if they can be at least sautéed or grilled
Yeah.
or anything, or oven roasted, you can oven roast
Yeah.
a lot of different things that taste pretty wonderful. So we don't serve them in schools very often, though.
Has the technology, cooking, the tools that you guys use, has technology helped you? Has it improved? Is there been, I know it's kind of a weird question you would ask, because we're just thinking you turn on the stove and you,
Right.
have a pan and stuff like that. But I would assume then for like these big meals that you guys are serving for many people, for the masses, there has to be technology must have improved over the years, right?
It has. And if you ever want to come and take a look at some of what we have, meet me at Santa Fe High School because their kitchen's fairly new and they have truly some state-of-the-art equipment there.
Okay.
Some big convection ovens, steam injection. I mean, it's just phenomenal equipment, really large tilt skillets that you can actually cook at really high heat so you can get some of that sear on things and make it a lot more flavorful, which, is important.
Kind of like when I was growing up watching the Jetsons, they would just put in like something, right? And then it would come out like a giant, or even the Warner Brothers movie, a cartoon where they would put in something and then a Thanksgiving meal would just come out from it, right?
Or the replicator in Star Trek. I mean, I would
that's
love
right.
one
That's
of
right.
those.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I think the only appealing futuristic sci-fi mess hall that I saw was the mess hall from the movie Alien when they were just kind of getting like this oatmeal stuff. So it never looked appeling to me. So I don't want to live in that future.
No.
I'd rather live in the Star Trek future, right?
Yes,
that'd be really
absolutely.
cool.
Absolutely.
So I digress. What another thing I wanted to bring up was the adoption of the new the PED rules. Can you kind of go over those? How have we taken them in?
You bet. Yeah, and these are for the whole state, so everybody is, has to work with those. But prior to joining Santa Fe Public Schools, I was actually with PED, and I was hired exactly to help administer the new rules for the whole state.
Wow.
It was called Kids Kitchen. Was our department, if you wish, under the Student Success and Wellness Bureau.
Yeah.
And I was hired as one of the two chefs to help implement the new rules in the state. So it gives us a bit of an edge now for Santa Fe schools since the rule is just being published, the final rule, which actually is a lot better than it was when it first started almost a year ago. It has been reined in a bit, if you wish, but the biggest part of it is it really concerns scratch cooking. And luckily we do that. We do a lot of that in schools already. So what I'm going to do for the next, because the rule doesn't go into effect until the next school year, 2025, 2026. So we're going to review all our recipes and menus and to make sure that we comply. Basically, we have to have 50% scratch cooking in the schools. So I think if we're not there already, we're very, very close.
So what does that mean? Does it mean that when you're making, I don't know, give me an example of what would be, you could use for scratch cooking?
So making your own salads, making your own meatloaf, which we do. We just served actually, it was a brand new recipe last week, which was actually excellent. It was really fun. So if you make something, instead of buying the item frozen that you just reheat in the oven, basically, which there was a lot of that, at least 10 years ago or even 5 years ago. And then we're trying to get away from that and make things a lot healthier. And so scratch is making, as I say, meatloaf from scratch with raw ground beef and such. But you can also do what is termed speed scratch, which would be, let's make spaghetti sauce, but we're going to use fresh ground beef, some fresh garlic and onions, and maybe some bell peppers, but we're using a canned tomato sauce.
Gotcha.
That's still considered a scratch dish, even though some of the components of the dish are not, are processed or value added is what we call them.
Gotcha. Wow. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is.
So these rules, have they, they're put in place, right, to improve is it also maybe to kind of give you guys, give the directors of nutrition a little bit more leeway, I guess you would say, in their creativity? Or?
You know, I don't know if they thought of that when they did those. I think it's really more so that we can introduce kids to better food.
Okay.
And things that, are made at home, instead of, just buying burgers from McDonald's or the drive-through or something like that. So it's really to expose kids to better food, healthier food at a young age.
Yeah. And that brings me up to my next is the one, segueing into universal free lunches, but also that, and this was in the report, and I do know about this. My brother, he's a middle school teacher here in Santa Fe Public Schools. He's been for a long time, 20 plus years.
Wow.
But and he tells me these things, and so does my wife too, working down in Rio Rancho Public Schools, that, and then just from educators that I'm friends with, that sometimes these meals are the only meals these students have during the whole day. So you're giving them this opportunity of being able to give them better food, right? Of feeling like they're getting a home cooked meal at school, breakfast, lunch, and a snack is a great opportunity. And that brings in the whole thing of the free lunches. What a huge move, right? Just a big deal here in New Mexico,
right?
Because it's only been around for a couple of years. The entire, just like a blanket free lunch type of situation.
Yeah,
right?
it's been around the country a little, around, but for us, it started, partially last year.
Yeah.
But now it's fully implemented, and the wonderful thing is that it's for everyone.
Yeah.
So there's, you don't have to identify, kids, which is really terrific. So everybody can eat free for breakfast and lunch. It is the main meal that we make. So if they want something that's extra or a la carte, like the high schools and middle schools do a la carte items, those things they have to pay for. But they can get the whole meal, which is, your milk, your bread, your veggies, your meat, your fruit. That is all free in one day. And they can take the whole, all of the components, or they can choose. So it's not like this is it, this is all you get. They can choose and not have their veggies so long they take a fruit, so they have a lot of choices too, which is really wonderful.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. We're coming to the end, but I want to ask you, what is the best, what is the favorite meal of the school district?
Ooh,
and you could give me a couple.
Frito pie comes to mind because that always draws crowds. Frito pie, hands down.
And that's an easy one, isn't it?
And well, it is really, but they love Frito pie. They love nachos too. That's another really big one.
Shortage of Fritos. Is there an issue with getting Fritos? Because there's a rumor that goes around the state saying, "Hey, I'm having a hard time finding Fritos here in the state."
Maybe it's
at the grocery store.
Maybe it's because we buy them all.
Is that what it is? Frito pie, though. That's what you say is that's awesome.
Yeah, they love it. They really do. And you mentioned pizza. That's always a favorite too.
Yeah.
So we even do a breakfast pizza with breakfast sausage. And,
that sounds good.
Yeah, which is great.
You mentioned meatloaf, and I know that our board president, that's his favorite meal is meatloaf. Yeah, and it's that was my birthday meal growing up. My mom would make me meatloaf, mashed potatoes, and corn. So I might want to go out there during the meatloaf day just to check out the technology.
Take a look at the menu, because you can look at the menu online. So pick the meatloaf day and let me know. I'll just meet you at one of the schools.
I think it'd be great. Maybe we just, maybe to do like a spotlight on the on a day of and how this works out.
Sure,
I'd love to do that.
Oh, that'd be fun. Absolutely.
It'd be a lot of fun.
That'd be great.
Well, Diana Tarasiewicz, did I get that right?
Excellent.
The Director of Student Nutrition for Santa Fe Public Schools. Thank you for joining us today.
My pleasure. Thank you so much.
And we'd love to have you on again too as well.
That'd be great.
Yeah, awesome. And thank you folks for listening. This podcast again was brought to you by Nusenda Credit Union. Want to thank you for joining us. Have a great week. Have a safe week. Adios.